Welcome to Frank Steyan Explains. My guest today is Elizabeth Ho, who has just started in October her first year of computer science here at Cambridge, Trinity College, Cambridge. We're having a little chat today for the purpose of inspiring other young girls to pursue their dream of doing computer science, because there's all these persistent rumors that this is something just for rich white boys, and it's completely not true. And Elizabeth here is helping me dispel this myth by proving it that it is not the case. We actually already filmed another video before you even came to Cambridge. I think yours was the first where I interviewed someone before they even came.
Yeah.
But it has been the most popular of all the videos that I did in this series. And so you're clearly serving as a good role model. Maybe because you're the closest to those viewers who have yet to decide whether computer science at university is the right thing for them. And thank you for coming back on the channel. I hope you will inspire another batch of younger.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really glad to be back.
Let's hear it from you, what it's like to be at Cambridge in practice. What's a day in the life experience? Just pick a specific day from last week.
Okay, Tuesday is one of my busy days. So I have 3 lectures in the mornings. I have a 9 a.m., 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. lecture. So the 9 a.m. one is the math one, and then the 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. are in the computer lab. And after that, I have my OOP supervision with you. And then in the afternoon, I also have my math supervision. They're all really close to the computer lab. So I basically spend most of my day on Tuesday in the computer lab doing lectures or supervisions. And then in between, I would either eat lunch or go to the library in the West Hub. Yeah, and then after that, I just come back to Trinity and then meet some friends, do some work. Depends on my evening plans. Yeah, but that's basically what my day looks like. I try not to wake up until I really need to. So normally, if I have a 9 a.m. lecture, it'll be about 8 a.m. and then I'll leave my room at 8:35. Yeah.
Is your room close to this maths lecture you have at 9 a.m.?
It is quite close. Like Trinity is quite close to everything. It's just that I walk quite slowly compared to most other people, and I also want to have enough time to actually get to the lecture without rushing.
So you walk to lectures uncommonly. People always go by bicycle.
Yeah. I bike to the computer lab because it's quite far away from Trinity, but otherwise I will walk to the new museum site or to maths. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So what lecture courses did you take in this first term?
Quite a lot. So we obviously did the natural sciences tripos maths for the entire term, and then we also had another discrete math course. So that was the 2 math courses that we did. And then in the first half of the term, I think we did digital electronics and then foundations of computer science. In the second half of term, we also had OOP. And then
OOP, what does this mean?
Object-oriented programming. Yeah, supervised by you. And then we also had graphics, graphics and databases was the one that also stretched throughout the term. Yeah, so in the first half of term we had 4 courses concurrently, and second half we had 5 basically. Yeah.
Okay, so digital electronics, does it involve soldering irons?
No, but it does involve a lot of breadboarding, so a lot of circuitry and then logic circuits basically. Yeah, so it's quite fun. I really like it. Yeah.
Okay, and foundations of computer science, is this grand thoughts about how computers should be designed?
No, it's actually functional programming. So like object-oriented programming is a different type of programming paradigm that we learn as opposed to imperative, which we are probably most used to before coming to Cambridge. Yeah, so it's a bit of a challenge on both ends.
So foundations of computer science is functional programming. Is this something you had done before?
No, not at all. So it was quite a challenge to get my head wrapped around kind of the mindset of functional programming, because it's so different from what I was used to. But I think after learning about it, now it's kind of hard to go back.
So a month or 2 ago, I did a video in response to a question from a viewer who asked basically, why is it that Cambridge teaches a functional programming language as the first language? And to my surprise, that video became the most popular of the whole channel. Okay, so now we have someone who's just experienced that.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a good idea for Cambridge to introduce people to programming with OCaml, or is it really crazy?
I do think so. It's quite surprising if you think about it. But then I do think that it's a good idea because, firstly, it gets everyone on the same level, right? Probably most people haven't done it before, and also it's also a really good mental challenge, I think. And after you're able to wrap your head around it, like it simplifies a lot of the tasks that you might have to do in the future. And so it kind of reduces my temptation to write spaghetti code. Like even in imperative programming languages now, I'm more careful about what code I actually write instead of just like randomly typing stuff and hoping it all works out. Yeah. So I do think it's made a positive improvement in the way I code.
So you think that this will carry over even when you write something in an imperative language? There will be things that have changed the way you do.
Yeah, I do think so, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Do you see yourself writing? I mean, you will have to write a project in your second year, another project in your third year. Do you see yourself using a functional language to do that, or will it just be a general culture thing that influences how you do things in a more conventional way?
I haven't actually thought about using functional programming languages in my second or third year project. It might be interesting, but I think I have to think about that a bit more. Yeah.
Okay. So of these courses that you mentioned, which ones did you find the most interesting, and why were they most interesting for you?
I mean, personally, I really like digital electronics, mostly because I have done A-level electronics, but then I think learning about digital electronics as like another course at uni, right? Like it further extended my knowledge, and it made, like, I think personally, I really do enjoy kind of the harder-ish side of things, and learning about digital electronics really, it was really fun, basically. But other than that, I think basically every course was interesting in its own right. Like there were a lot of new things and new challenges, but also it was stuff that I was very happy learning and talking about, and especially learning with supervisors and with friends and things like that. Like it makes it a much more intellectually stimulating discussion, and it's very fun talking about things that you like to learn about. Yeah.
But you didn't have a favorite among these various courses aside from digital electronics?
I mean, I definitely did one learning at the time, I think, but now that term is over, it kind of just, I think graphics was a very special one in that I didn't really expect to be learning it, especially in first year, because it felt like a relatively specialized course, right? Yeah, but then after learning about it, or like while learning about the course, I think like it was a very fun, especially like the ticks were very, very fun because like you were able to program and then see the progress as you program the thing.
We should say what are the ticks? Some kind of exercise that you have to do.
Yeah, ticks are basically programming exercises that you have to do. And basically,
can you just give an example? What was a tick that you had to do for graphics?
Oh yeah, sure. So our first tick was a ray tracing algorithm, right? So we had to implement ray tracing step by step, and then as we implemented it, we would see the two spheres. Like they would appear like just red and blue for one, and then the next step it will actually have some lighting, and then the next step it'll have like reflections and shadows and things. So like by the time you got to the end, you had a very, very nice image that you've created step by step.
So and you wrote all the program yourself in what language?
In Java.
In Java.
Yeah, so we did graphics in Java. Yeah. So it was just very nice to see the progress, and I think graphics was definitely a very good course.
How long does it take to do an exercise like this?
So I would say about, I think, maybe if you're optimistically 5 hours, but I think it's not a good idea to only leave 5 hours for a tick, definitely. So I would say maybe leave at least like 10, 15 hours, but you probably wouldn't spend that long unless you really get stuck on a bug.
Programming, it's difficult to assess how long it will take if you encounter a bug.
Yeah, definitely. You could get stuck forever.
90% of the way in 5 hours, and then the rest of the 10% is another 5 hours.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But as long as that doesn't happen, then it's okay.
So, what would you say is the most amazing technical thing that you learned this term that you didn't know before coming here?
Yeah, sure. I would say, because I had my discrete math supervision yesterday, right? So and then our supervisor showed us 2 different methods of proving Euler's theorem, and like I've kind of heard about Euler's theorem before coming here, but like I didn't know how to prove it. I didn't remember most of it, and so it was really nice just like being able to see such elegant proofs, and like it was also like a really, really smart ways of proving Euler's theorem. And I think this is something that you really only get in supervisions, where you actually have the time and the interest to explore like a topic deeper than what you cover in lectures, right? And because like we've already done most of supervision questions and stuff, so we had some time to to prove Euler's theorem, and I thought that was very, very cool. Yeah.
So, can you maybe tell us what a supervision is like from the viewpoint of the supervisee? How interactive is it? Are you just told to do stuff, or do you have much input? How does it work?
Yeah, sure. So normally, at least for computer science, before the supervision, we'll get supervision work. So let's say for OP, it might be like programming exercises, and for maths, it might be like problem sheets. And then we do the work, and then if there are any questions that we don't know how to do, or at least like if I don't know how to do it, now I just like write in my answers like, oh, I'm not really sure about this part. Can we discuss this in the supervision? And then during the supervision, we'll normally go through some of these supervision questions, especially the parts that we've marked out or the parts that we've gotten wrong. And then after that, if we have time, then we can go deeper into like questions that we have about the lectures or interesting stuff in general, like proving Euler's theorem, things like that. And so like that's the last part is the part I enjoy the most, because it's like you really get the feeling of like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah.
Great. What would you say is the most exciting or thrilling thing that you've done here, academically or otherwise, since you arrived in October?
Yeah, sure. Thrilling thing that I've done here. I've joined a competition. It was a competition that was publicized by the Seattle Supporters Club. Like, they sent an email about it, and it's basically a graphics compression algorithm competition. And so basically it was 6 weeks over term. Yeah, and I've been working on it, and then we went to the finals last Friday, I think. Yeah, and so that was very, very interesting, and it was also a very good opportunity to work alongside friends to do something.
So the whole competition lasted 6 weeks?
Yes, it was a 6-week challenge. So we had a 6-week programming time, and then after the end of the 6 weeks, we would go for the finals where we would present our answers.
So was the population of this competition just Cambridge students?
No, it was UK-wide.
UK-wide,
yeah.
Right.
So there were people from different unis as well.
Who were the organizers of this?
Huawei.
Yeah. Okay. And at the end, what would you have? Were you programming individually or in teams?
In teams, yeah. So we did C++.
How big was the team?
2 to 4 people. We had 4. Yeah.
Okay. So there were several people from Cambridge, several teams from Cambridge, I imagine.
Yeah, there were. Like at the finals, there were quite a lot of people from Cambridge. Yeah.
How many teams in total did take part? You know?
I think it was 30 something.
30 teams.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they mentioned it was 30 something teams.
Okay. Did you make it to the final?
Yeah, we got second in the end.
Well done. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't know about that. You're telling me live.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Who got first?
It was another team from Cambridge, actually. It was another team of 4, all first years from Cambridge as well.
Great.
Yeah. And then I think the team that got 4th was also from Cambridge. So
we
it
got
was
first,
very
second, and fourth place.
Cambridge dominated.
That's
yes.
pretty good. Okay, well, one reason to come to Cambridge.
Yeah.
Very well done. Okay, we must celebrate this.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so about things that happened to you in Cambridge. Now I'm going to ask you, what's the thing that you least expected? What's different in what happened in Cambridge compared to what you expected about Cambridge? What were you not prepared for?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I think when I heard that supervisions were like 1 supervision per 3 or 4 lectures, right? The first thought I had was that it was too little. And then I realized that a lecture was every other day for each course. And so 1 supervision for every 3 or 4 lectures means that you have 1 supervision a week, essentially. And if you're taking 4 courses simultaneously or 5 courses simultaneously, it means that you have 4 to 5 supervisions a week, which is quite a lot, I have to say. Yeah, so I think I expected that I would have more time, or like I expected that I would be able to like 1 supervision a week, or like 1 supervision a week would be quite a reasonable amount. Yeah, but I think it is something where like if you don't schedule your time properly, then it can build up quite easily. Yeah. So even though it's like really
you don't just go to the supervision.
No, you have to do the work.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, time management.
If all this work pressure on you forces you to learn something about time management, in my opinion, it will be the most important thing you learn from your time at university. More than any course I might teach you.
Right, okay.
Right, so of the stuff you did so far, what was hard and what was easy for you?
Do you mean in terms of like coursework?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like,
coursework. I
like
mean,
academics?
you
Okay.
had various, or otherwise, if you have other things to relate, you might as well tell us that as well.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, I think hard stuff was definitely because for me personally, I didn't really have a competitive programming background. So I found that
Comparative program.
competitive programming.
Competitive.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So I found that for courses like discrete math, where it's like people have very different backgrounds coming in, and they could have like done a lot of things or seen a lot of things, like the Chinese remainder theorem. I've never heard of it before coming here, but then like a lot of people have because of competitive programming. And so I think that was one of the things that meant that I would have to work a bit more, maybe.
Catch up.
Yeah, catch up a bit more. But I think it was also nice in a way because it meant that I had a lot more to learn. Like Milosh, my supervision partner, like he knows about this stuff quite a lot. So it meant that like during the supervision, I'll be learning a lot of new things, and I'll just be like taking down a lot of like new concepts and ideas and things like that, which I would never have come across, right, if my supervision partner didn't do this kind of thing or didn't know this kind of thing. So it was a good thing, but it also meant that I had more things to cover and a more difficult challenge, I guess, in terms of catching up with the background difference.
So you mentioned your supervision partner. That's the person that's allocated to come with you to the supervision.
Yeah.
Do you also prepare the supervision work with that same person, or do you do it individually?
We do
Or
it
someone else.
individually, yeah, but then I do know of some people that would kind of communicate with their supervision partners before the supervision.
Mhm.
But in our case, we do it individually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the stuff you had not done before that other people had was the hard part. Was that something that instead was easy for you? You breezed through, and other people had this hard time.
Yeah, digital electronics.
This electronics.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was, yeah, because I did have a background in electronics, right? Which did make it easier for me. So in terms of like the hardware labs and things like that, it meant that I could finish it much quicker.
So are you the kind of person who's already built your own robots with Raspberry Pis and stuff like that?
I've coded Tetris in a PIC assembly.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
That's cool.
so that was where I built up most of my electronics. Because I spent like months
so
on
you're
it, and it was
programming
like
that PIC in machine code in C in what?
it's like PIC assembly programming language. So it's a form of assembly, but then it's less assembly like than actual assembly.
Oh, that's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, but it's definitely much lower level than like C or C++ and things. So you had to write like go-to statements and
Right.
like decrement, skip if zero,
And then
like,
you
have to, like, look at
attach
the
buttons
flags.
to it, and you attach the display.
Yeah,
and you do
yeah,
that stuff. That's
yeah,
very
that kind of
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have it here, or is it?
I do. It's in Cambridge with me. It's my room
You should
actually.
show me. Yeah.
Yeah, one day. Yeah, it'll be
If
very
I had
fun.
known, I'd have asked you to bring it here. Okay, so what do you think of the other? I mean, without being impolite to anyone, what do you think of the other students in your cohort? Is this just a big bunch of nerds?
No. I mean, I think personally, I really like speaking to other people that are doing computer science. I think the conversations are always very interesting, and because we all like the same thing, right? It means that we all like vibe well together, and like when we talk, it's kind of like you get what the other person is trying to say, basically. And yeah, I think they're very nice to talk to, and they're also very smart. Like everyone has something that they're good at, and everyone is interested in the same thing. So it means that like it's just like a room full of treasure that you can like excavate, right? There's a lot of things that you can learn from all of them.
That sounds very positive, a very positive way of being
Yeah.
in this. Now, I've heard a number of people being actually intimidated by being in a place where so many other smart people are, and a number of them much smarter than I am, and so on. Did you have any of that, or do you have ways of coping with that doesn't intimidate you?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely experienced that before. So, for example, like one of the, yesterday during the discrete math supervision, right, one of the proofs of Euler's theorem was actually presented to the supervisor by one of my course mates, right? And like, at that moment, I was like, wow, I've never heard of this before. And someone's already like come up with a much more short and elegant proof and like being able to present it, right? But also, if you think about it, it's like, I would never have come across this if he had not presented it in the first place. So it's like being around people much smarter than you means that you've also been exposed to things that you would never have been if you weren't around these kind of people. So I guess the first thing is just to accept it, because there will always be people smarter than you, and there will always be things that you're not as good at, right? But second thing is to treat it as a learning opportunity, because it really is, right? There is so much that you can learn from the other people around you.
Yeah, well, wisdom beyond your years. I hope that some of the people who are still thinking what it's going to be like pay attention to what you say. I could not have said it better. I'm glad that you already at that maturity stage of not feeling scared. I mean, you obviously have enough confidence in yourself that you realize the truth, which is that it's not taking anything away from you. The fact that there exist people smarter than me. There exist plenty of people smarter than me, even among the students. But it doesn't make me feel bad, right? It makes me feel like I'm in an exciting place. It doesn't take anything away from who I am.
Yeah.
And if you can survive that kind of challenge that for some people it really puts them off and say, I was always the smartest in my school, but now it looks like, should I even be here? And that really kind of diminishes the stuff that they could do because they are good. I mean, if we didn't think they were good, we wouldn't even have admitted them. But I'm very glad to see how you have framed this in your mind, which I think is the best way of doing it. How about the social dynamics between all of you, given that most of your colleagues are male? So you just described a very, everybody likes the same stuff and it's cool to be together. Is there any way in which the fact that you're one of the few females interferes with that camaraderie?
I think it's definitely nice to have more females in the course. I think like sometimes you do miss the female dynamic. But course wise, I like the boys. They're actually pretty easy to talk to and very chill and
They're not shy to talking to females for
No.
kind of nerd only talks to the computer.
No, I haven't come across that kind of situation. So like I have enjoyed because like even in school, right? Like when I'm doing projects and things, like I've always been the only girl in my team, or like always been, like we only had 2 girls in our physics class, for example. So you kind of start getting used to interacting with just males, which is not great. Like already. Like I feel like there is something that is being missed out on in terms of dynamics, but it's also not something that impedes on you personally because like it really isn't that much different when you work on a project together, whether you're a female or a male, because you end up being hyped about the same thing. You end up working together on the same thing, and they don't really like. There's definitely no discrimination. So. I think overall it's been all right. Yeah, working together with mostly males, but I would like to see definitely more females in the course.
So would I, yes.
Yeah.
So that's part of what we are trying to do, right?
Yeah.
You're happy with that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm asking your advice as well on this. Besides doing the thing, I want to understand how could I reach the girls who are still deciding what to do at university, because at some point you were a girl like that, and that's not too far in time. Obviously I was never a girl, so I don't have that experience firsthand, but even if I had it would have been many years ago. Whereas you, first of all, you are a girl, and second, you decided what to do at university not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. And so yes, I would like some help from you on how to actually get to this. I think that what you're doing now, talking to me, to all of us about your experience, is great because they can hear it from someone they can identify with. If I could tell them exactly the same things, they couldn't identify with me as easily as they can with you.
Yeah.
And so I think you're producing excellent content for inspiring people who can see you as a slightly older version of them. But how to actually get to them? When do you think that someone like the young woman you were 5 years or 7 or 8 years ago would have found this video that we are producing right now? Would you have gone on YouTube to look for that? I find that if I look at the stats of my very tiny channel, I mean my channel is tiny to begin with, but then only about 5%, according to what Google believes about its audience, are females, and only about 1% are below the age of 17. So even if we produce the best possible content about inspiring young women, they may never see it. So how do we get to them? Do you have any ideas?
I think this is definitely a very difficult question to tackle because, like especially on YouTube, it's like unless they're trying to find you, right? It's quite difficult to actively reach out to different kinds of people. I think probably one of the best ways would be to cater towards young girls that are already potentially interested in computer science, but they're not quite sure if that's the right path for them, or they haven't had enough experience in programming or in computer science to really know for sure. But they're maybe like thinking about it, or they've seen it and they think it's cool, that kind of thing. I think as long as they have some kind of interest towards computer science, then you can start from there, and it'll be, you know, much easier to convince them that maybe this is the right path for you, or maybe this is what you really want to do. Yeah.
So I don't know if at age 12 to 15 you were checking things out on YouTube. Were you?
Well, I was watching a lot of YouTube for sure. Not sure if I was watching productive YouTube videos.
Okay.
I think I was watching quite a lot of like math related videos, or like some kind of programming related videos as well, like just
And
people
what
making cool
what
stuff.
were you looking for? Problems for you to tackle on your own, or what kind of stuff?
I think I was very interested in people building really cool things. So like building robots, for example, and then they'll make a YouTube video out of it. Or like even like building something cool in Minecraft, right? And then making a YouTube video out of it. And then I think things like that, it makes me very inspired to want to do that for myself as well. Or like things that have been really popular recently are like, oh, I coded an AI to play this game, right? So those kind of videos have been very popular on YouTube. And it's a really good way to kind of get people going and like start thinking about if I could do this, or like how would I go about it if I wanted to.
So this is showing people something cool you've done, as opposed to teaching people how to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, I guess, because like after that, then they'll start searching. Oh, if I want to code an AI, then what should I do? Right? Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for the suggestion. So if we come back to the fact that you've now finally been at Cambridge for a while, and you're experiencing the thing, and you can tell other people what it's like. What's the food like? What's the accommodation like? What are all these practical things?
Yeah, sure. The food at Trinity is actually pretty good. Not gonna lie. It's pretty decent. Food at the West Hub though is very, very good. Like
What's
top
the
tier.
West Hub?
So West Hub is basically, it's very close to the computer lab. So a lot of people from the computer lab would go to the West Hub cafeteria to eat after the lectures. For example, on Tuesday when we have 11 to 12 and then 1 to 2 lecture, right? So between 12 and 1, a lot of people would go to the West Hub cafeteria because it's really good, and it's also, you get a student discount, so it's very cheap. Yeah, so that is definitely the place to go if you're taking lectures at the computer lab. Yeah.
What's a good thing you recommend eating at the West Hub cafeteria?
I mean, they offer different things every day, but I haven't had a bad meal there since going there to eat. So like my recommendation, at least for now, is very positive.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about your accommodation?
Accommodation wise, I'm also very happy with it. So I live in Wolfson, and I live in the top floor, so the view is always very nice. And also,
Do you get assigned a room, or you get to choose, or do you pay different rents? How does it work?
yeah, so we get assigned a room. So we state our preferences in a form before we come.
Preferences of what kind?
So like if I want a kitchen, if I want like a ensuite, for example, or I want a big room, that kind of thing. And then you write your preferences down, and then the accommodation office will try to cater to your preferences while sticking to like the balance, like the rank at which they assign the rooms in, right? And then after that, you get assigned a room, and then different rooms you pay different rental fees. But for Trinity, it generally is like the price range is quite cheap because it's quite heavily subsidized by college. Yeah.
And then if you do particularly well academically, then you get
Scholars
promoted
yeah.
to a nice room in the old part of college.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone who's had the privilege?
I mean, I've known people that have done well under exams. I don't really know how the scholars ballot and stuff works.
So you don't know anyone from later years who has got a room in Great Court?
I'm not quite sure actually. Yeah. I think I would want to know such people, definitely. See what it's like.
Would you want to have a room in Great Court?
Maybe. I think that would be quite a good experience to have, cool. Like a very Cambridge-like experience.
Some people, well, it looks very pretty and so on and so on. I'd rather have modern facilities and a single mixer tap instead of the stupid two things.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so if you want that choice, get it first.
I will work hard.
Right, what else have I got here? There's plenty of coursework and deadlines and supervisions to hand in and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. Is there time for you to do any other things besides studying computer science? What's your work balance? work-life balance like here? Do you engage in any other activities?
Yeah, sure. I do a lot of theater. So I've done a show week 6, I think. So for the whole of week 6, every day from 7 to 10, I was in the theater operating a show. And then
So
the weekend.
in the theater, what are you? An actor, a director?
Oh, I do lighting.
Lighting.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So I was the lighting designer for that show.
You should have advised me.
No.
It's very primitive.
I think theatre lighting is quite different from video lighting, definitely. But yeah, so basically I designed the lighting and then I created the plans for where to put the lights and then like make sure the lights for the shows are okay and then take them down afterwards.
That's super cool. How did you
Yeah.
learn that?
So basically in my previous school I did kind of dabble in it, and then when I came here I basically went up to the theatre people and said like I want to do lighting, and then is there any opportunity for me to do that? And like because it's like the first term, so they do have quite a lot of shows that are available for freshers to do and try out. Yeah, so I think basically just go up, ask, and you'll receive most of the time.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And there is time for you to engage in those things.
Yes. Physically, 24 hours is enough. Emotionally and psychologically, you will have to balance your time. But I think if you really want to, you definitely can manage. Yeah.
Great. If you had a younger sister or a younger cousin or some other girl you know of age 12 to 15 or something, how would you help them figure out if doing computing would be the right thing for them, and if so, what they should do to pursue that interest?
Yeah, I think the best way to figure out if you want to do computer science is to program, to dabble in it and to experiment, right? So if you do different projects or you join a programming competition and you find that you really enjoy the process of doing it and it makes you happy, it makes you excited, and you want to do it all the time, right? Then maybe it's time to take it a step further, do a bigger project or join a bigger competition, do it with friends maybe, until you get to the point where you're like, yeah, this is the thing for me and this is what I want to do. Yeah, so definitely take the time to explore your interest and just learn about different things and try to dabble in it as much as possible. Because especially for computer science, there's so many things you can do even outside of school. It's definitely something that you could explore on your own, in your own time, without having to kind of learn formally how to do it. So I think it's a very good opportunity for you. Yeah. If you
So
want to
when you say
try.
engage in a project, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Can you give an example? Where do I find the project to do?
Oh,
to
yeah.
enroll?
I mean, projects are everywhere. Like if you have a problem that you want to solve, or you think, oh, why is something so inefficient? Or like things like that, right? Like there are always thoughts that come to your mind, like, oh, why doesn't, the bus just arrive and I can check on my app and stuff like that, right? Like there are always inefficiencies in life that you can solve with technology, and most of the time you can actually do something about it, right? You could like build a web scraper that tells you the bus timings. Even the Google Maps does that quite well already. But like there are different project ideas that come up every day or like all the time. And if you think about something that you want to do, just like write it down on your phone, and then you can come back to it later and maybe really try it out, implement it, and it might even help your life, right? So yeah, project ideas are everywhere. You just have to give it a shot. Yeah.
So what if this young girl says, yeah, well, it would be cool to have something on my phone that tells me the bus timetable, for the sake of your own example. I don't know the first thing about how to write an app for my phone. Is this a like big barrier to entry, or is this something?
No, just Google how to write an app on my phone, right? Like that's how I started off with making my own website, or like coding different projects. You always start with how do I do the thing that I want to do, and then Google will tell you some answers, and then you don't really understand what it's trying to say, so you Google again. How do I do this thing that Google told me to do but I don't know how to do, right? So you just like go down this rabbit hole until you find something that you can do and you build it back up again. Yeah, so that's how normally you would go
super
about.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love that. A strong computer science education is something that will open many doors for you. So you will have all these doors open in due course. And what are your dreams about what your career might be? Now, I'm not saying this as, tell me what your plans are, because at this stage, at this age, you usually don't have a plan worked out on what I'm going to do. But, what are the cool things you see you might like doing?
Yeah, I think at this stage, I'm keen on exploring, like maybe doing a PhD after my undergrad, doing research definitely. So I think that's a path that I'm trying to explore and see if it's going to be the right fit. Yeah.
What the aspect of computer science would you like to research?
Yeah. So I came into Cambridge thinking that I would want to do machine learning, but I think maybe machine learning is definitely very interesting. I do want to explore it more, but also I'm kind of thinking about different aspects, like for example, digital electronics, or maybe even like algorithms. Yeah, so I think it's definitely not really set in stone, especially after I've learned so much more about computer science after the first term. But yeah, probably have to think of it a bit more. Yeah.
Yes, okay, great. Of the stuff that you know you're going to be doing in the rest of this first year, what is there anything that you look forward to particularly?
Yeah, I think algorithms 1 and 2, definitely. Yeah, because as I mentioned...
I'll be teaching you that.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, as I mentioned before, like my competitive... Like I didn't do competitive programming, so my background is quite different from a lot of the other people. So I think I would definitely be learning a lot in the algorithm courses. But I'm very much looking forward to kind of like speeding through, catching up, and being actually good at algorithms. Yeah.
So this thing you mentioned about competitive programming, and that you said earlier, I had a question coming to my mind as you said that, then I forgot. But anyway, I'll ask you now. A number of young people who view this channel, when I put out some kind of outreach video, they say, you know, what should I do to stand out? And I always mention, you know, it's obvious to notice people who have gold medals in international Olympiads and all that kind of stuff. You know, if you do that, we can't fail to notice you. Okay, at least invite you for interview, right? Now, some of these people, when I give this kind of answer, are really worried. But I haven't done any competitions. I don't think I can do it. There's no time, or my school doesn't let me go to competition. Now, you didn't do competitions, okay? No. But, you know, you were invited to interview, you breezed through the interview, and were admitted, and so on and so on. So what other things can one do to prove you know, proficiency and competence such that you then get admitted?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't go down the competitive programming route. I think I went down the projects route where, you know, I just enjoyed working on long-term projects a lot more. And so that was what I focused my time and energy in, right? Doing personal projects or like projects with friends. So it meant that I had, you know, end products to show for it. I had months of hard work, you know, being put in, and I'm still learning skills that, you know, it would be very useful in computer science. So you don't have to go down a particular route in order to like be a strong applicant. I think the most important thing is to do the thing that you're interested in within computer science. So be it like competitions, projects, or like even other things, right? So
what projects did you use to showcase your brilliance?
I mean, there, like, for example, my Tetris one was quite a big one, definitely. And then I've also coded a few like websites. We did some like robots, and then we also had I was in a high altitude balloon team.
So what?
High altitude balloon HABs.
High altitude balloon.
Yes, yes. So we would program the flight computers to go on the high altitude balloons. We would program the sensors to connect to our flight computers, and then we would launch the balloons and then record data, and after we can analyze it. So like things like that. It's very unrelated to competitions, but it's also
super cool.
Yeah, it is very cool, right? And it's very fun. And if that's what you like to do, then I think go for it. Yeah.
That's really good advice. So I've asked you gazillions of questions, and you know, and I'm your professor, so there's a kind of hierarchical relationship which makes maybe. It's not a dialogue amongst peers, but you know, I feel it's only fair if I ask you, do you have any questions? As you know, any kind of stuff where you think I could say something interesting for you.
Yeah, sure. I think I do have a question about like girls in computer science. Like, why do you think it is that so few girls apply, or like, to Cambridge, and like, why do you think it is that so few girls would watch your YouTube channel, for example? Like, do you think there is a reason for this?
Well, I would quite like to understand it. I don't really have an answer. I am trying to do something about it without really knowing the cause. I think in a sense it's a self-perpetuating vicious circle where girls are told, and I've heard by talking to other young women in the context of admissions, I've heard some of them saying, I was told by when I was growing up, that this was not really a subject for girls. I mean, no girls do that. I mean, there's other things that are more interesting for you. And of course, that's the wrong message to send, and it spoils all the good stuff that you could do later. And we have a very small proportion of women here in computer science, unfortunately, especially in Trinity. You are the only woman in your year of 11 computer science students, right? So that ratio, 10 to 1, is similar to the ratio of the applications that we receive. It's not like we don't like admitting women, it's that we don't get many women who apply for us. And when they apply, I mean, it so happens that it's more or less the same proportion that we get in that we then admit. If we got maybe 50-50 applications, there would be much more likely that we would get closer to 50-50 of the intake. I mean, clearly depends on the quality, but there's no indication so far that the quality of the female applicants is lower than that of the male applicants. It's just that there are fewer coming in. Now, why is that? And I attribute some of this to this business of them being told, "Oh, no, don't go there, it's only boys, and it's not something that you would enjoy." And why? I mean, that's a stupid message to send, especially from people who are not there firsthand. I mean, they should be asking someone like you. That's why I'm trying to do something like this. Is it something that a woman would enjoy? Well, do you enjoy? That should be the answer, I think. I don't know if there's an element of feeling that then the career would be again something they will have to fight at every step of the way, because there are not that many women in computing. I think that there is something about computing that only appeals to a certain type of person, but that applies for males as well. I mean, certain people like to have to work with something where you have to be absolutely precise and do everything the right way, otherwise it won't work. And then they have some satisfaction when they have built this big castle of many parts and it all works. And some other people just get frustrated about saying, "Oh, but I want to do this, and I've said it a million times and it still doesn't work." Just give me something that does what I mean and not what I say. And that kind of person doesn't work very well with computing precision and deriving logical thoughts to their ultimate. But that's the same for. I mean, I know men as I know women who can't live with that kind of stuff and say, no, that it's too techy, too nerdy. But that feeling of, yes, actually I derive great satisfaction from finally getting this thing to work, and I love the creativity of building. And I see this creativity in women and men, and I regret the fact that not as many women are exploring or given a chance to explore this side of creativity, which is so fulfilling and rewarding. And I think that maybe the stage where I am, which is at university, is maybe already too late. In a sense, we should be talking to these girls when they are still girls, not when they're already women and they've already basically decided that that's the thing for me, that's not the thing for me. And so, it's something that we should work more with schools, perhaps, to say that's something that I don't know. I really like to understand at what stage does this differentiation come in and say, this is for boys, this is for girls. I mean, my daughter is only 5 years old, but already I've seen things from before she was 5, trains or dolls or that kind of stuff. So I don't think that all of it is innate. So most of it is stuff that's imposed on by expectations of society.
I tend to think that it starts quite early as well. Like, I've been fortunate enough that my parents gave me trains and puzzles and other things as well as a kid, right? In addition to Barbie dolls, obviously. But like, I got to choose what I really wanted to play with, and that's what I ended up choosing, right? So, but I do think that at an early age, you kind of do start differentiating if you're not careful enough.
Setting expectations that in order to please the people who love me, then I'll have to be that kind of person. Maybe I mentioned school, but maybe it's the parent themselves who need to also be mindful of how they channel the ambitions and drives of their children, if they want them to have the freedom to choose among those choices as well.
So definitely something very
well done to your parents.
Thanks to my parents, yes, definitely.